The guys at Deeper gave me one of their new Deeper Smart systems to try out. Now this is made for shore fishing, but I'm going to see if it's good for kayak fishing as well. Welcome back! If you're new to the channel, we cover kayak modifications, spin, and fly fishing. So poke that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. You guys know that I'm a fan of the Deeper Pro and the Pro Plus, but you know, it's expensive. It runs a couple $100. The Deeper Start only runs about $130, and it is made for shore anglers to throw it from the shore and bring it back. But I fish in the kayak, so I'm going to try it out here in my kayak in a couple different ways. First, of course, I'll throw it and reel it back in just like you would from the shore. But then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to my anchor trolley using a section of monofilament, drag it behind my kayak, and see how that works. That way, maybe I get the best of both worlds for a reduced price. Now, the great advantage of this model is it's a lot lighter. It's about an ounce lighter than the other Deeper. And so that means it's going to be a lot easier to throw, and you won't need a heavy action rod to really whip it out there. And in fact, I'm going to give it a workout today, and I'm going to try it on my medium light rod to see just how easily it is to throw this. I know that's going to stress the rod, but I'm willing to take that chance so that way you guys don't have to. Now it comes with a magnetic power attachment that just pops on there, so that makes it really easy to charge up, and the light blinks to tell you how charged it is. It has this little swivel here, and that's what I'm going to use to attach it to my rod, throw it out there, crank up the Deeper app, and see what happens. So I know some guys are going to say, well, why not just tow this behind the kayak and then you'll get boat mode? Well, if you're moving the kayak at the speed that you would reel in, then that'll work. But if you're moving with any kind of speed at all, you can see what happens here in this clip, that the Deeper unit gets submerged and that cuts off the Wi-Fi signal to your smartphone. Now it'll work just fine if you tie it to your boat while you're sitting stationary. It'll read underneath the boat just fine because the signal can get to your phone. Okay, I know this shoreline is where there's a deep channel, so I've connected up my Deeper. It's operating right here. Now I'll throw it out by the shoreline and drift it down. And this is kind of what I think I'll be doing the way I kayak fish inshore. If I was in a lake, it'd be different. Then I could throw it out to the various spots and pull it back. But here, with the current moving all the time, it's always going to be a moving target. So I'll throw it in a channel where I think the fish will be moving through, and then I can sit here and listen for fish beeps or actually look at it. Now sometimes when you do that, when there's wave action like there is here in the intercoastal, you're going to lose connectivity, and what you have to do is you have to stand up, get the unit up high as if you were casting from the shoreline, and then once it gets connectivity again, then you're usually good to go. That was a really long cast. It's out there. I'm getting good connectivity. It's showing that the channel is 4.3 feet deep. You know, what I find is that when you're working a shoreline with the Deeper, just float down, see what's there, and you know, don't overuse it on the shoreline, because why bother? Once you find out where all the fish are, you know, you kind of mark where the beeps are as it comes down the shoreline, then you're good to go. Now as I drift it, I tweak it a little bit to get it to wobble, because that'll move the cone of discovery around a little bit, and I'll cover more territory. So I'm floating that down the shoreline, and you can see that it picked up a fish. So I'm going to throw right over there and see if I can catch him. Well, it's a little redfish. All right. He's under slot. I'll let him go. But I'm tickled that the Deeper's picking up fish this size. Go grow up. Now, one of the things I've discovered after using this for a while in the kayak is that if there's any wave action at all, you need to stand up. Not a big deal, just something you need to be aware of, because I know a lot of us fish standing up anyway. One thing I don't like about using the deeper start is you don't get the option to change what the display looks like. In the bright sun, I prefer the white and purple display I can see on my Pro. Here, you just get the black or the brown, and it's kind of hard to read what's going on about the deeper, whether because the text of too shallow, too deep, or whether it's disconnected, it kind of blends in with the black background and then the brown showing the depth. So that's a negative, but you know, if you get up under here, underneath your hat, you can still read it okay. And again, with the fish alarms, that's all I care about, is seeing where the deeper is, hearing the fish alarm, and knowing that's where I've got a fish. And one point, when you're not using this, be sure you put it in your kayak like this, because you don't want these contacts to get wet, because that'll turn the unit back on and draw down the battery. I've been using the deeper start system for the last couple of days, and I think it's going to be just fine for kayak fishing as opposed to shore fishing, which is what it was designed for, as long as you keep in mind a few things. Item number one, you're not going to be able to drag this behind your kayak because your kayak is going to go too fast, and as you drag it, this is going to go down in the water, water's going to come here, cut off the Wi-Fi signal. Now if you're drifting, it'll work, but if you have any speed at all, it's not going to work. The second thing is, if you fish where there is current, never throw downstream and reel back, because the current is going to come over the top of this thing and cut off your connection. So you can see as I reel it in here against this strong tidal current, the deeper goes underwater, and that's going to cause me to lose my connectivity. So always throw upstream, allow it to drift back towards you, and you'll be just fine. The next thing is that it doesn't really work all that great from a sitting position. Your angle, especially if there's any waves, like there, and these are just gentle waves around me right now, it's going to cut the signal off because it's going to bob and travel and move around. So to use this, you need to be elevated a little bit. You know, at least your smartphone has to be elevated a little bit to establish that direct line of communication down to the unit. So if you normally fish standing up from your kayak, it's going to be just fine, because basically your kayak becomes a floating shoreline. Now, if I were going to use this all the time, and in fact I think I'm going to do this for my other deeper unit, is I'm going to mount a pole to the side of my seat where I can use the smartphone mount, you know, this thing right here that would normally go on a rod, and I'll put that on the pole. That way I can have my smartphone right here a little bit higher up where I'll get the better connectivity to use the unit. And I'm going to just have to play around with it a little bit to see, based on where I fish, the waves, the environment, stuff like that, how high up that has to be. Because I kind of know the area. I know how deep the channels are, so I don't really need that. What I'm interested in is finding the fish. So I'm going to listen for the fish beeps. So it only costs about 130 bucks, a lot less expensive than the Deeper Pro Plus. So if you're looking for a good, inexpensive fish finder that has the flexibility of being able to cast and throw, then I think this thing will do just fine. You're not going to go wrong with it. What do you think? Have you guys used one of these things before? Throw in the comments. Let's share the experience.